Beloved, the great mistake of life is to believe that you must struggle, strive, and grasp for what is already yours. You have been taught that effort is the key, but the law of life whispers another truth. Relax, everything will come to you. When you chase, you confess lack. When you strain, you affirm distance. But when you rest in the quiet knowing of your heart, you declare possession. For what you seek is not out there, it lives already within the unseen chambers of your being. Every desire that arises in you is not a request for something to be created. It is a signal of what already exists in the eternal storehouse. The moment you imagine, the seed is planted. The harvest does not come by toil, but by trust. Faith is not struggle. Faith is ease. Faith is the quiet assurance that what you see inwardly must one day take form outwardly. To relax is not to abandon your dream, but to embrace it more fully. To live in its fulfillment now, without resistance. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and dwell in the world where your desire is already accomplished. Feel it, real, taste it, rest in it. As you relax, you align with the current of life, and it carries you to the very scene you have imagined. So release the tension, the worry, the restless waiting. Let go of the burden of when and how. Be still and know that creation is finished. The door is already open, the treasure is already yours. Relax, my friend. Everything will come to you, not by force, but by faith. The secret of effortlessness is one of the most misunderstood truths of life. From the earliest days, we are conditioned to believe that everything worth having must be chased, hunted, or earned through relentless effort. We are told that the harder we push, the faster we will receive. Yet the great paradox is this: the more we chase, the more distant the object of our desire becomes. It is as if the very act of pursuit causes the thing we long for to slip further from our grasp. Have you ever noticed how the more you cling to something, the more it eludes you? Whether it is love, success, or peace of mind, pursuit often creates resistance. What you chase flees, but what you rest in is drawn irresistibly to you. Effortlessness is not laziness. It is not apathy or indifference. It is the art of inward alignment. To be effortless is to move in harmony with life's current instead of thrashing against it. When you truly desire something, the first impulse is to run after it. But when you realize that desire itself is evidence of possession, you no longer chase, you assume. You rest in the inner conviction that it is already yours, and in that rest you magnetize the very thing you once strained to obtain. The world outside is but a mirror. When you chase, the mirror reflects distance. When you rest, the mirror reflects arrival. Consider love. Those who desperately pursue it often find rejection, disappointment, or emptiness. But the one who rests in self-completeness, who embodies love inwardly without neediness, naturally attracts affection. Or take success. The one who strives endlessly, gripping tightly to outcomes, often burns out in frustration. Yet the one who quietly assumes the identity of a successful person, resting in that inner state, finds opportunities, people, and circumstances gravitating toward them without struggle. The reason effortlessness works is simple. Life responds to states, not striving. Every thought and feeling you entertain is a silent command to the universe. If you project lack, the universe reflects lack. If you project rest, knowing, and completion, the universe reflects abundance. Effortless living is the recognition that you do not create by force, you create by being. By resting in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you become the embodiment of the desire, and the world has no choice but to conform. This does not mean you will never act. Actions will still be required, but they will no longer be frantic, desperate, or forced. They will flow naturally, born of inspiration rather than compulsion. Effortless action is different from effortful striving. One is heavy, the other is light. One is struggle, the other is flow. When you relax into the state of possession, the right actions present themselves in perfect timing and they unfold with ease. So remember this: the secret is not to chase, but to rest. Do not exhaust yourself trying to grasp what is already yours. Dwell inwardly in its reality. Embody it and allow life to deliver it to you. What you rest in comes quietly, steadily, and inevitably. That is the true power of effortlessness. The power of inner stillness is the gateway to creation. In a world that glorifies noise, speed, and constant movement, stillness is often overlooked, even feared. Yet within the silent chambers of the mind lies the blueprint of every manifestation. When the surface waters of thought are disturbed, clarity cannot be found. But when the mind grows quiet, when thoughts settle into calm, the deeper truth emerges. The silent mind is not empty, it is full. It holds the pattern, the image, the seed of every reality you long to experience. Every creation begins in silence. Before the painter lifts a brush, the picture forms within. Before the architect sketches a line, the structure exists in imagination. Before any word is spoken, it is conceived in the silence of thought. Stillness is the womb of all things. In stillness, you can hear the subtle whispers of intuition, see the images of possibility, and touch the reality of the unseen. But the restless mind, always running, always striving, cannot perceive the delicate impressions of creation. That is why stillness is not weakness, but power. Inner stillness is not the absence of thought, but the mastery of thought. It is the ability to withdraw from the noise of fear, doubt, and constant questioning, and to rest in the assurance that all is already complete. When you quiet the mind, you stop scattering energy across 1,000 directions. Instead, your energy gathers, concentrates, and directs itself toward a single vision. That concentrated vision, held in stillness, is what shapes the outer world. The silent mind is a furnace where imagination takes on form. Stillness also dissolves resistance. Most people think of their desires with anxiety. When will it come? How will it happen? What if it fails? These questions are storms that disturb the surface of consciousness, preventing the clear reflection of the desired state. But when you become still, you release the struggle. You stop demanding from the outer world and begin to see that the inner world already contains the answer. In that stillness, the desire feels real, alive, accomplished, and what feels real within must eventually express without. Think of a pond. If the water is turbulent, it cannot reflect the sky. But when it is still, it mirrors perfectly. The mind works the same way. In silence, It reflects the world you choose to dwell in, and that reflection is projected into reality. The silent mind does not beg, does not force, does not chase. It simply knows. And knowing is the seed of all manifestation. The greatest movements in life come from the deepest stillness. Just as the seed rests quietly beneath the soil before it bursts into life, so must you rest inwardly before your vision blossoms outwardly. Be still, not because nothing is happening, but because everything is happening. The silent mind is not inactive, it is alive with creation. When you dwell in inner stillness, you are holding the blueprint of the future, and the world cannot help but conform to that design. Desire is already fulfilled. This truth overturns everything the world has taught you. You have been conditioned to believe that desire is a sign of absence, that it points to something missing in your life. But in reality, desire is proof of possession. The very moment you feel the stirring of a longing, it is because its fulfillment already exists in the unseen. Desire does not come to torment you or remind you of lack. It comes as evidence that creation is finished, that what you seek is waiting for you in another dimension of reality. Imagine for a moment that the universe is a vast storehouse of completed possibilities. Every outcome, every dream, every wish already exists in this infinite field. When a desire arises within you, it is like a gentle knock at the door, inviting you to align with what is already present. You are not chasing after something that is far away. You are being called to recognize what is near, what is here, though invisible to your senses. Desire, then, is not a gap, but a bridge. It connects you to the reality where your wish is already accomplished. The challenge is that most people treat desire as lack. They worry, they question, they struggle. They live in the tension of wanting, and in that tension they push their desire further away. They ask, when will it come? Why is it taking so long? Such questions blind them to the truth that desire is already here. What makes it visible is not striving, but rest. Inner rest is the key. When you relax into the feeling of the wish fulfilled, when you embody the state of already having, you collapse the illusion of distance. The invisible becomes visible. The imagined becomes real. This is why faith feels so effortless. Faith is not the act of trying to believe. It is the quiet rest in the certainty that what you have desired is already yours. You do not demand proof because the inner conviction is proof enough. You do not struggle for signs because the feeling itself is the sign. Just as a pregnant mother rests in the assurance that the child she carries will one day appear, so must you rest in the knowing that your unseen desire is already alive within you, awaiting its appointed hour. To live this truth, you must shift your perspective. Stop measuring by appearances. The outer world is always a delayed reflection of the inner state. If you look outward for confirmation, you will continue to see the shadows of delay. But if you turn inward, rest in the end, and dwell in the feeling of fulfillment, the outer must eventually conform. The world cannot resist the inner conviction of a mind at rest in its desire. So do not chase, do not struggle. When desire arises, smile and recognize it for what it is, evidence of what already belongs to you. Rest in its completion, feel it now, live as though it is done, and soon the invisible will step forth from the shadows and reveal itself as the tangible reality of your life. Faith is relaxation. To truly trust is to let go of the endless struggle, to release the tension of trying to control outcomes, and to rest in the certainty that creation is already finished. Faith is not a strenuous act of willpower, not the tightening of the mind in an attempt to force belief. It is the opposite. It is the loosening of the grip, the unclenching of the heart, the surrender to the truth that what is desired has already been accomplished in the unseen. Real faith carries no strain, because it rests on the eternal fact that the end is secure. The world has taught you to equate faith with effort, as though to believe requires constant repetition, force, or emotional struggle. But belief does not thrive in tension. Imagine trying to fall asleep by straining with all your might. It is impossible. Sleep comes only when you let go, when you surrender the effort. In the same way, faith begins where striving ends. The moment you release the compulsion to control, you open the door for the unseen reality to flow into visibility. Faith is relaxation because it is rooted in completion. All creation exists already. The story is written, the script is complete, the ending is secure. When you understand this, you cease the restless questioning of when and how. You no longer measure by appearances, nor do you torment yourself with doubts. Instead, you rest in the invisible assurance, just as you rest in the certainty that the sun will rise tomorrow, though the night seems endless. You rest in the faith is the quiet knowing that the outcome is inevitable. Consider the seed planted in the soil. You do not dig it up each day, wondering if it will grow. You water it, you let it be, and you trust the process. Faith works the same way. Once you have planted the seed of your desire and imagination, you do not disturb it with constant worry or anxious checking. You rest. You live as though the harvest is sure, because it is. In that rest, the invisible forces of life align circumstances, people, and events to bring forth the vision you already carry within. This rest does not mean inaction. Faithful rest allows inspired action to flow without strain. The right ideas, opportunities, and impulses come naturally, arising at the perfect time. You are no longer driven by fear, but moved by knowing. Such action feels light, effortless, inevitable, because it is not born of struggle, but of certainty. To walk in faith, therefore, is to live as if the desire is already complete. It is to relax into the state of the wish fulfilled, to embody it with ease, and to let go of the frantic need to make things happen. When the mind is at rest, the heart is open, and life delivers exactly what you have claimed inwardly. Faith is not a fight, it is a surrender. To trust is to rest, and in that rest, creation reveals itself as already finished. Trust is to rest, and in that rest, creation reveals itself as already finished. Say it in the five and the free, and the imagination is the resting place, the sacred ground where all creation begins and ends. The outer world, with all its forms and appearances, is nothing more than a shadow cast by the images you hold within. When you learn to dwell inwardly in the state of the wish fulfilled, you discover that imagination is not fantasy, but the very foundation of reality. The world you see with your eyes is malleable, shaped and reshaped by the invisible power of your inner life. To rest in imagination is to step into the blueprint of the future. And as you persist there, the outer world must bend to reflect it. Most people treat imagination as a fleeting distraction, a daydream with no real consequence. They dismiss its images as unreal and trust only what their senses show them. Yet everything you now call real was once imagined. Every building, every invention, every work of art, even the path of your own life. Each began as an inner picture before taking form in the physical. Imagination is not an escape from reality, it is the womb of reality itself. The secret lies in resting there. To imagine your desire with tension, with effort, or with doubt is to resist the very process of creation. But when you surrender into the scene of fulfillment, when you feel the relief of it being done, you step into the state where imagination becomes fact. The world outside does not resist such inner conviction. It bends, rearranges, and aligns to mirror the vision you have chosen to inhabit. To dwell in imagination is to rehearse the end, not as a wish, but as a fact. You do not imagine yourself longing, waiting, or striving. You imagine yourself being. If love is your desire, you rest in the feeling of being loved. If abundance is your desire, you rest in the ease of already possessing it. This resting is not idle daydreaming, but the assumption of identity. You become, inwardly, the person who already lives the life you desire. From that inner stance, the outer must conform. The beauty of imagination is that it asks nothing from the world. You need no permission, no evidence, no circumstance to begin. In the privacy of your mind, you can dwell in mansions, embrace loved ones, walk in freedom, and taste the sweetness of fulfillment. What you consistently occupy inwardly must, in time, externalize, for the outer world is only a reflection, and imagination is the resting place where the reflection is chosen. Rest, then, in the end. Do not wander back into doubt, nor let appearances persuade you otherwise. Appearances are only delayed shadows of former states. What matters is the state you rest in now. If you remain faithful to your imagined end, the world cannot help but obey. Imagination bends reality because imagination is reality in seed form. Dwell in it, rest in it, live in it, and the outer world will bow to the inner vision. Relaxation is alignment. It is the art of letting go of resistance and allowing life to unfold in perfect order. When you surrender, you discover that there is a current already carrying you, a river of life that knows the way far better than your anxious mind ever could. To relax is not to give up, but to release the struggle against the natural flow of creation. It is to trust that you are already being guided, that every step is arranged, and that you are exactly where you need to be on the path to your fulfillment. Most people live as if they must control every detail, as though the universe is waiting for their constant effort to hold it together. But this tight grip creates nothing but tension. It is like trying to row against the current of a mighty river. You exhaust yourself, yet move little. Relaxation is turning the oars loose, lying back, and allowing the current to carry you. Suddenly, what felt impossible becomes effortless. You arrive not by force, but by flow. Alignment happens when you release the stories of fear, doubt, and limitation. It is not about abandoning your desires. It is about surrendering the need to dictate how and when they come. The moment you relax, you open yourself to guidance, intuition, and inspired action that you could not hear in the noise of striving. You begin to sense the nudges, the gentle pushes of life, moving you toward exactly what you have imagined. Opportunities appear, doors open, and synchronicities unfold, not because you chased them, but because you allowed them. Consider how water flows. It does not resist. It does not strain, and yet it shapes mountains and carves valleys. Its strength is in its softness, its persistence. its alignment with its own nature. When you relax, you become like water. You stop battling appearances and instead flow with the unseen intelligence that governs all things. That intelligence knows your desire, for your desire was born from it. The river of life is not working against you. It is carrying you to the very fulfillment you seek. Relaxation also shifts your inner state. When you are tense, you radiate fear and separation. But when you are at ease, you radiate trust and completion. The world mirrors back what you embody. A relaxed heart attracts, a worried heart repels. This is why surrender is so powerful. Not because it changes the outer world directly, but because it changes you. And when you change inwardly, the world must follow. Umting men, nomting, nomadin, nomocritics, nomtinet, nomodiscussing. To relax is to acknowledge that you are not alone in your creation. Life itself is your ally, and its current is strong and sure. Your task is not to fight it, but to align with it through rest, faith, and inner knowing. Release the grip, trust the flow, surrender the how and when, and let the river carry you. For when you relax, you discover that everything you desire is downstream waiting. And the river of life will unfailingly take you there. All that has been spoken to you today circles back to a single truth. You are not here to struggle, to chase, or to force life into shape. You are here to rest in the awareness that all you seek already exists, and that your inner world is the birthplace of every outer change. The secret of effortlessness, the power of inner stillness, the knowing that desire is already fulfilled, the rest of faith, the sanctuary of imagination, and the alignment found in relaxation, all of these are not separate paths, but one. They are the movement from striving into being, from doubt into knowing, from restlessness into rest. You do not need to add more weight to your shoulders, nor do you need to wait for some distant day. The moment you dwell in the end, the moment you rest in the truth of fulfillment, you align with the current of life that carries you exactly where you are meant to be. So I invite you now to breathe deeply, to release the tension, and to remember, the work is already done. Creation is finished. Rest in it, trust it, and let life reveal to you what has always been yours. Thank you for giving your heart and your attention to these words. May they not remain ideas, but become living truths within you. And as you walk forward, may you find peace in knowing that everything you seek is already here, waiting for you to rest and receive. There comes a moment in every journey when you can feel something stirring in the unseen, a quiet movement, a divine orchestration, a whisper from eternity saying, the shift has begun. You may not see the evidence yet. The outer world might still look unchanged. But deep within, your spirit knows, you can feel it, that holy restlessness that tells you something greater is unfolding. Every prayer you've spoken, every tear you've shed, every act of faith when you could have surrendered to fear, none of it has been wasted. The universe does not forget a heart that dares to believe. You are not being delayed. You are being prepared. The divine order of your life is rearranging the pieces you cannot see, aligning people, opportunities, and circumstances in your favor. What feels like silence is not abandonment, it's construction. When life seems still, heaven is building. When doors seem closed, new paths are being carved. And when you feel forgotten, you are being positioned for favor. Do not give up now. The urge to quit is the sign that the shift is near. That resistance you feel is not the end, it's the birth pain of transformation. Hold the vision, even when your eyes cannot confirm it. Speak as though it's already done. Walk as though you've already received it. Everything is working in your favor, even what looks like loss, even what feels like delay. The unseen hand of divine intelligence is rewriting your story in ways your mind cannot yet grasp. You are stepping into alignment with grace. The waiting is over, the unfolding has begun, the shift is not coming, it's here. So lift your head. Speak your faith aloud and give thanks not for what you will have, but for what already belongs to you. Because now everything is working in your favor, and this time nothing can stop it. The shift has begun. Don't give up now. There is a moment, quiet and almost imperceptible, when everything begins to turn in your favor. It doesn't come with thunder or applause. It doesn't announce itself with visible change. Yet deep inside, something begins to move, softly, silently, powerfully. The unseen shift has already begun. What you've been praying for, hoping for, believing for, has already started to make its way toward you, though your physical eyes may not yet perceive it. Life is not only what we see. The visible world is but a shadow of the invisible realm where all creation begins. Every answered prayer, every manifestation, every miracle first existed in that unseen space, the dimension of thought, belief, and faith. When you align your mind and emotions with the reality you seek, you set in motion forces that cannot be stopped. Energy begins to rearrange. People begin to move. Circumstances start shifting in alignment with the picture you hold within. The unseen shift is often misunderstood because it doesn't bring instant evidence. It requires faith in moments of silence. It demands that you trust what you feel more than what you see. You may still be standing in the middle of what appears to be delay, but delay does not mean denial. It simply means divine timing is unfolding perfectly, beyond the limits of your sight. Every time you imagine the outcome you desire, you give it life. Every time you choose hope instead of fear, you quicken the unseen process. Even your challenges are part of the rearrangement, moving old patterns out of the way to make room for what is new. The breaking is not punishment, it's preparation. You are being reformed to hold the blessing that's on its way. In the unseen, your future is already complete. The moment you truly believe, what you seek begins to move toward you. Invisible threads start weaving connections that lead you to divine encounters and destined opportunities. You may think you're walking alone, but unseen hands are guiding you, unseen doors are opening for you, unseen favor is paving the road ahead. This is why you must not be deceived by appearances. When nothing seems to be changing, that is when the greatest change is happening. Just as seeds break open in the darkness before they sprout, so too is your breakthrough germinating beneath the surface. You can't see it yet, but it's alive, it's growing, it's coming. So hold your faith steady. Keep speaking life over your dream. Keep walking as though it's already yours, because in truth, it already is. The unseen shift has already begun. The movement toward your destiny is in progress. Trust that the divine is aligning everything perfectly in your favor. Soon, what was hidden will become visible. What was delayed will manifest. And you will look back and realize that even when you couldn't see it, everything was moving for your good. The unseen has always been working, quietly, faithfully, unfailingly, on your behalf. Faith is the bridge between what is unseen and what becomes seen. It is the invisible connection between your inner conviction and outer manifestation. Every time you choose to trust, even when there is no proof, you lay another plank on that bridge. A bridge that carries your dreams from imagination to reality. Faith is not wishful thinking. It is knowing with quiet certainty that what you have believed already exists in the unseen realm and is on its way into form. The invisible world is the birthplace of everything. Every invention, every miracle, every answered prayer began first as an unseen thought, a spark within the mind, a whisper within the heart. Before the tree appears, the seed must first rest beneath the soil. Before the dawn, there is the deep stillness of night. Likewise, before the evidence of your desire shows itself, faith must first take root within you. It is your unwavering belief that nourishes the unseen into visibility. Faith is not blind, it simply sees differently. It perceives what the eyes cannot. It looks beyond circumstances, beyond delay, beyond appearances, and anchors itself in the promise that what is imagined is already true in a higher dimension. When you believe deeply, your belief becomes the creative force that draws the invisible into reality. The unseen world responds to your inner conviction. It bends to the strength of your trust. Every thought of doubt builds distance between you and your dream, but every thought of faith shortens the gap. Faith does not require evidence to begin, it creates the evidence. The outer world mirrors your inner certainty. When you walk by faith, you walk on the bridge you are building. Step by step, thought by thought, with complete assurance that every footstep brings you closer to manifestation. Faith is the language of creation. It speaks life into stillness. It calls things that are not as though they already were. When you say, "It is done," with true conviction, the universe rearranges itself to match your declaration. The visible world must conform to the image held in faith. Because faith is not passive, it is active, generative, and magnetic. You may not yet see the full picture, but faith reminds you that the painting is already complete. You're simply walking into its unveiling. When the mind wavers, return to faith. When the path seems uncertain, remember that the bridge is being built beneath your feet. Faith does not require sight. In every moment of trust, the unseen becomes more real. The invisible begins to take shape. Doors begin to open that you didn't even know existed. Circumstances align, people appear, opportunities unfold. And then one day, what you once held only in your imagination stands before you in living form, not because you forced it, but because you believed. Faith is the bridge. Walk it boldly. Walk it daily. And know that every step taken in trust is a step closer to everything your heart has already claimed in the unseen. Everything you experience in life begins first within. The outer world is nothing more than a reflection of your inner state. The thoughts you nurture, the emotions you dwell upon, and the images you repeatedly hold in your mind. The power that shapes your reality does not lie outside of you, it lives within you. Your inner world creates the outer change. When you align your imagination with victory, when you see yourself as already complete, successful, and fulfilled, life has no choice but to rearrange itself to match that inner picture. Imagination is not a place of fantasy. It is the womb of creation. Every experience, every achievement, every transformation first begins as an idea, a vision, a feeling within. The world responds to what you assume to be true about yourself. If you see yourself as defeated, life will echo defeat. If you see yourself as triumphant, life will echo triumph. You are the author of your outer world, and imagination is your pen. To change your life, you must first change your inner conversation. Speak victory even when circumstances seem to contradict it. Picture yourself walking in the reality you desire, not as a distant hope, but as a present fact. Feel it deeply, live it mentally, and soon it will harden into physical form. The outer world is obedient to the inner command. Whatever you consistently imagine with emotion becomes your experience. This is not merely positive thinking, it is alignment with divine law. The unseen responds to certainty. When your imagination is filled with faith instead of fear, your vibration changes. You begin to move differently, speak differently, and attract differently. Opportunities that once seemed impossible begin to appear. People who can help you are drawn to your path. Circumstances that once worked against you begin to shift in your favor. It's not the world that must change first, it's you. When your inner world transforms, your external world mirrors that transformation. You cannot live in constant worry and expect peace outside of you. You cannot dwell in lack and expect abundance to appear. But the moment you decide to see yourself as abundant, loved, capable, and victorious, the external world starts to reorganize itself around that truth. This is why your imagination is sacred. It's the workshop of destiny. Guard it, nurture it, feed it only what supports your highest vision. See yourself as you wish to be, not as circumstances suggest. Feel the emotion of already having what you desire. Live in that state mentally until it becomes natural. Soon you will notice subtle changes, conversations aligning, opportunities opening, synchronicities appearing. It will feel as though the world is bending in your favor, because it is. Life always follows the pattern you hold within. The moment your inner world aligns with victory, your outer world must obey. That is the law. What you hold in imagination with unwavering belief will one day stand before you in undeniable form. So choose your inner world wisely, for it is the foundation upon which every miracle is built. There are seasons in life when it feels as if everything has paused, when prayers seem unanswered, dreams feel distant, and progress appears to have slowed to a crawl. In those moments, impatience whispers that you've been forgotten. But the truth is far deeper and far more comforting. Divine timing is perfect, not delayed. What seems like waiting is not inactivity, it is divine rearrangement working behind the scenes. Life is not random. Every event, every meeting, every delay carries meaning. The universe is orchestrating an intricate symphony on your behalf. aligning people, opportunities, and moments in perfect order. Just because you can't see the movement doesn't mean it isn't happening. Beneath the stillness, things are shifting. What feels like a pause is preparation. What feels like silence is construction. We often think of waiting as wasted time, but in truth, it's sacred time. It's the period when the invisible pieces of your destiny are falling into place. Divine timing never misses. It never arrives too soon or too late. It always unfolds in precise rhythm with your readiness. Sometimes the universe withholds a blessing not as punishment, but as protection. You are being prepared for what you have asked for, and what you have asked for is being prepared for what you have asked for. We are being prepared for what you have asked for, and what you have asked for is being prepared for what you have asked for. If you received everything you desired instantly, without growth or alignment, it could collapse under the weight of unprepared hands. So divine timing ensures that you are strong enough, wise enough, and grounded enough to sustain what's coming. Every delay is a divine investment in your stability. Every detour carries hidden instruction. Every waiting season shapes your character for the magnitude of the blessing. When nothing seems to move, that is when the rearrangement is most active. People are being shifted, doors are being crafted, paths are being cleared. You cannot see it because the work is spiritual before it is visible. But the orchestration is happening with precision far beyond human understanding. The universe never forgets what it has promised you. It simply delivers it in the moment that guarantees your highest good. We can live in it in the moment that guarantees your highest good. So trust the process. Trust that what belongs to you cannot be lost, and what is meant for you cannot pass you by. Trust that the pause is purposeful. Trust that your prayers have been heard and the answers are unfolding in divine sequence. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be in the grand timeline of your becoming. When the time is right, everything will converge effortlessly. What once seemed impossible will fall into place with grace and ease. You will see how every delay was essential, how every waiting period was filled with unseen movement. The divine timing is not slow, it is precise. It is love expressed through perfect order. So rest your mind, release your worry, and let the unseen hand of destiny continue its quiet work. What is meant for you is already on its way, and it will arrive right on time. There is a sacred pattern that unfolds before every major breakthrough, a moment when the pressure intensifies, the obstacles grow larger, and the temptation to surrender becomes almost unbearable. This is not a sign of failure, it is the sign that the shift is near. Resistance is the final test before breakthrough. The urge to give up often comes right before what you've been believing for finally becomes visible. When you set a new intention, when you begin to believe for something greater, the energy of your life starts to reorganize itself. Old patterns begin to dissolve. The familiar structures of your past identity start to crumble, making room for the new. But as this inner transformation occurs, resistance rises to the surface. It comes in the form of doubt, fatigue, fear, or discouragement. It's as if life asks, are you truly ready for what you've asked for? This resistance is not punishment, it's purification. It is life testing your commitment to the vision you've declared. It asks you to stand firm in your belief, even when everything around you says otherwise. It asks you to trust when evidence is absent, to continue when it feels pointless, and to believe when the mind argues that nothing is happening. The closer you get to your breakthrough, the louder resistance becomes, not because you're failing, but because you're nearing the edge of transformation. Just as dawn feels darkest before the first light, your journey feels hardest right before manifestation. That moment of exhaustion, when you feel like you can't continue, is often the very moment the shift is about to reveal itself. When resistance shows up, it's not a wall to stop you, it's a doorway to walk through. Every feeling of opposition is proof that something powerful is in motion. The old version of you is being stretched, refined, and prepared to hold the new reality. You are shedding limitation, letting go of fear, and strengthening your inner faith. Each moment you choose perseverance over surrender, you build spiritual momentum that cannot be stopped. Breakthrough requires endurance, not just physical endurance, but spiritual endurance. It asks you to remember why you started, to keep your eyes fixed on the unseen promise rather than the visible struggle. Resistance is temporary. Transformation is eternal. The pressure will not last forever, but the reward of persistence will echo throughout your life. So when you feel weary, remind yourself, this is the test before the triumph. When everything seems to be falling apart, know that it's actually falling into place. Keep moving, keep believing, keep speaking life into your vision. Every hero story reaches this same moment, the breaking point before the blessing. And those who endure, those who hold their faith when the night feels longest, always see the dawn rise brighter than ever. The resistance is not your enemy. It is the divine signal that you are moments away from breakthrough. Don't stop now. The shift is already in motion. Gratitude is not merely a polite response to blessings. It is the sacred vibration that completes the cycle of manifestation. It is the spiritual seal that locks your desires into reality. When you live in gratitude, you declare to the universe, I already have what I desire. And because creation always responds to belief, life rushes to mirror that inner assurance. Gratitude is not something you express after receiving. It is the energy that magnetizes the receiving itself. Every desire you hold is already complete in the unseen. Gratitude is the acknowledgement of that truth. When you give thanks before the evidence appears, you align yourself with the frequency of fulfillment. You move from wanting into having, from longing into knowing. This shift is powerful, for what you feel as already yours must eventually take form in your physical world. Gratitude transforms waiting into receiving and uncertainty into peace. Thankfulness is not a reaction, it's a creative act. Every time you say thank you with genuine feeling, you are affirming that the blessing exists right now, even if your eyes cannot yet see it. That state of appreciation sends out a signal stronger than worry or doubt. It tells creation, this person already recognizes abundance. Let more flow toward them. Gratitude multiplies what you focus on because it communicates trust in divine order. When you choose gratitude in the midst of challenges, you demonstrate mastery over circumstance. You are no longer a victim of appearances. You are the author of your reality. Even in difficulty, there is something to honor: growth, strength, wisdom, the unseen good unfolding beneath the surface. Gratitude opens your eyes to the hidden perfection behind what seems imperfect. It turns what you have into enough, and what is enough into overflow. As you practice gratitude, your perspective shifts. You begin to notice beauty where you once saw lack. You begin to feel peace where you once felt anxiety. This internal transformation is the real miracle, because once your inner world vibrates with appreciation, your outer world must respond with reflection. Gratitude is magnetic. It draws new opportunities, people, and blessings that resonate with your elevated state. The secret is to give thanks as if your desire has already arrived. Speak words of appreciation, not for what's coming, but for what is already yours in spirit. Thank you for the abundance that flows freely into my life. Thank you for the love that surrounds me. Thank you for the doors that open in my favor. As you do, your faith becomes substance. Your unseen reality begins to crystallize into form. Gratitude seals the blessing because it completes the circuit of creation. Desire is the spark, faith is the bridge, action is the movement, and gratitude is the closure, the final agreement between your spirit and the universe that says, "It is done." Live in gratitude daily, not as ritual, but as recognition that you are already blessed beyond measure. The more you thank life, the more life gives you to be thankful for. Gratitude is the key that turns the invisible promise into visible proof, the divine whisper that says, "It's already yours." You have reached a turning point, a sacred moment where everything within you begins to align with what you've been believing for. The unseen has already shifted. The bridge of faith is being built beneath your feet. Your inner world is awakening with power, and divine timing is orchestrating every detail with perfect precision. Even the resistance you've faced was never meant to break you. It was meant to prove that you were ready to rise. Now, walk forward with confidence. Let gratitude be your song and faith your constant companion. Everything is working in your favor even when you cannot yet see it. The doors are opening, the path is clearing, and your breakthrough is closer than you think. You are not waiting for the shift. Hold your vision, trust the unseen, and live as though it's already done, because it is. The universe has heard you, and life is responding with abundance, favor, and divine alignment. The shift has begun, and this time, nothing can stop it. Thank you for watching and sharing this sacred moment of awakening. May this message remind you that your faith is powerful, your vision is alive, and your victory is inevitable. Stay steadfast, stay grateful, and remember, everything is working in your favor now. There is a great truth hidden in plain sight. The universe is always listening. Every thought you dwell upon, every word you repeat in the silence of your mind, every feeling you entertain, it is all communication with the infinite. But most people talk to the universe incorrectly. They plead, they complain, they ask as though they were beggars before a reluctant master. And then they wonder why nothing changes. But when you talk to the universe correctly, magic happens. The first secret is assumption. The universe does not grant wishes, it mirrors convictions. If within yourself you assume lack, then lack is your answer. If you assume abundance, health, love, or success, then the universe must echo it back. What you assume with persistence becomes the fabric of your reality. The second secret is feeling. Words without feeling are hollow, and the universe does not respond to emptiness. You may speak of wealth while inwardly trembling with fear of poverty, and you will find your world continues to reflect that fear. But the moment your words are clothed in genuine feeling, when you feel the reality of your desire already accomplished, the universe bends to your command. The third secret is imagination. To talk to the universe is not merely to say words aloud, but to enter into the scene of fulfillment in your mind and dwell there until it feels real. Every vivid picture you paint within is a conversation with the unseen, and the unseen, being faithful, will make itself visible in due time. The fourth secret is silence. The language of the universe is not heard in noise, but in stillness. Withdraw from doubt. Resist the urge to explain away your desire, and in that quiet confidence, you will discover a new power. In silence, your inner declarations carry weight. In silence, the universe hears clearly. The fifth secret is to speak from the end. Do not ask for what you want as though it were far away. Do not say, I will have it someday. Instead, speak as though it is already yours. Say within yourself, it is done. Rest in the state of the wish fulfilled. When you talk to the universe from the end, you are already standing where you long to be, and your world will rearrange itself to match your inner stance. And the sixth secret is the harvest. Once you have spoken correctly, once the seed of your desire is planted in the rich soil of imagination and feeling, leave it alone. Do not dig it up with doubt. Trust the unseen process, and the fullness of time the harvest must appear. For the universe cannot deny the language it understands. So I say to you, stop speaking the language of fear, lack, and waiting. Speak to the universe in the tongue of assurance, in the certainty of fulfillment, in the conviction that what you desire is already done, and watch as what seemed impossible yesterday becomes ordinary tomorrow. Because when you talk to the universe correctly, magic happens. The universe responds not to what you outwardly request, but to what you inwardly assume as true. This is a principle that escapes most people, for they believe that merely asking, praying, or wishing is enough to bring about change. Yet, if the asking is clothed in doubt, if the prayer is drenched in fear, if the wish is overshadowed by disbelief, the response of the universe will mirror that hidden state. What governs creation is not the surface words, but the deep-rooted assumptions that live beneath them. Assumption is the secret law of life. To assume is to accept something as already established, to live inwardly as though it were unquestionable fact. The world outside is but a giant mirror, reflecting not your fleeting desires, but your persistent beliefs. When you say, I want to be successful, but within yourself you assume failure, then failure is what you will see repeated in your circumstances. When you declare, I will be loved, yet assume rejection in your heart, then rejection becomes your experience. The outer world cannot help but echo the conviction of the inner. This is why assumption is so powerful. It bypasses the language of begging and moves directly into the language of being. The moment you assume a state, you wear it as your identity, and life responds accordingly. Consider a person who assumes poverty as their destiny. No matter how many affirmations they chant, no matter how many prayers they repeat, the quiet conviction of lack within will continue to shape their world. On the other hand, take one who assumes abundance. Even when circumstances appear contrary, their assumption draws opportunities, ideas, and people that lead them into the wealth they have already accepted inwardly. The universe has no choice but to mirror your state, for it is law. Just as a shadow cannot detach from the body, reality cannot detach from the assumptions that give it form. This is why it is said, as within, so without. Life is not responding to what you say you want. It is responding to what you have accepted as true. If you assume limitation, limitation becomes your chain. If you assume freedom, freedom becomes your song. The practical use of this truth is simple. Begin to watch your assumptions. What do you truly believe about yourself, about life, about love, health, success, and happiness? Look around your world and you will see the exact reflection of those quiet convictions. If you dislike what you see, change the root, not the branches. Shift your assumption. Begin to live inwardly as the person you desire to be. Speak from that state, feel from that state, think from that state, and persist in that state until it hardens into fact. Assumption is the language of the universe. It does not argue, it does not question, it simply reflects. Therefore, assume the best, assume the highest, assume the fulfillment of your desire, and the universe must comply. For in the end, it is not what you ask for that matters, but what you dare to assume as already true. Words alone have no power unless they are infused with feeling. The universe is not moved by mere sound or empty repetition. It is stirred by the vibration of emotion that lies behind the words. You may speak endlessly of wealth, health, or love, but if your inner feeling contradicts the words, the universe responds only to the feeling. For feeling is the gateway through which thought crosses into reality. It is the living energy that transforms imagination into manifestation. Without it, words are lifeless shells drifting into nothingness. When you say, I am prosperous yet feel poor, the universe hears poverty. When you affirm, I am loved but inwardly ache with loneliness, the universe hears loneliness. What matters is not the statement itself, but the emotional charge it carries. Feeling is the language of creation, the true signal that the infinite responds to. If you wish to know what you are broadcasting, do not look at your words. Look at the way you feel when you speak them. That feeling is the essence of your communication. This is why so many struggle with affirmations and prayers. They recite them diligently, but nothing changes. It is not the words that are ineffective. It is the lack of feeling behind them. They are spoken like empty promises with no emotional conviction. The universe listens to the heart, not the lips. The moment you begin to feel your words as real, the moment you let yourself taste the joy of fulfillment, your entire inner world shifts and outer reality must follow. Feeling is the bridge between imagination and reality. It is not enough to picture yourself successful. You must feel the pride, the freedom, and the satisfaction that success brings. It is not enough to visualize love. You must feel cherished, valued, and embraced. The clearer the feeling, the quicker the manifestation, because the universe recognizes your inner vibration and mirrors it faithfully. This is why children often manifest so quickly. They do not complicate their desires with doubt or endless reasoning. They imagine with vivid feeling, and in their play, they truly experience the joy of what they create in their minds. That play becomes their prayer, and their prayer becomes reality. As adults, we must return to that simplicity. To feel it real is to claim it as yours. The practical path is this. When you speak to yourself inwardly, do not merely say the words, let them sink into your body, let them awaken sensation. Say, I am wealthy, and then feel the security of abundance wrapping around you. Say, I am loved, and allow yourself to bask in the warmth of affection. The more vividly you feel, the more firmly the seed is planted. Feeling is the gateway. It unlocks the invisible and calls it into the visible. It is the sacred ingredient that gives life to thought. So guard your feelings, direct them, and dwell in the emotion of your fulfilled desire. For when your words are clothed in feeling, the universe cannot resist. It must bring forth that which you have dared to feel as true. Imagination is not a mere daydream or idle fantasy. It is the true conversation with the unseen powers of the universe. Every vivid inner image you hold is a statement, a declaration, a message sent to the creative substance that shapes reality. What most dismiss as just imagination is in fact the hidden workshop of creation. When you picture a scene in your mind with clarity and feeling, you are not playing with illusions. You are engaging in dialogue with the infinite, planting seeds that must one day bloom in the visible world. The mistake many make is to separate imagination from reality, as though what they see inwardly has no bearing on what unfolds outwardly. Yet the opposite is true. Everything you now experience in the outer world was first imagined by you or by another. The house you live in, the clothes you wear, the job you hold, the relationships you experience, each was once a thought theme clothed in imagination before it materialized. Life is simply the solidified record of prior conversations you have had with yourself in the unseen realm. To imagine vividly is to converse with the universe in its native tongue. The unseen does not hear your complaints, your pleas, or your fears as requests. It hears only the images you nurture with persistence. If you dwell on images of loss, failure, or sickness, you are unknowingly speaking them into being. If you persist in picturing joy, success, and wholeness, you are instructing the unseen to bring them forth. Every inner scene is a seed, and every seed bears fruit after its own kind. This is why your imagination must be guarded and directed with care. When left uncontrolled, it can become a trap, replaying the same tired scenes of worry and defeat. But when deliberately guided, it becomes your greatest ally, a sacred tool of transformation. To change your life, you must change the inner conversations you hold in imagination. Begin to picture yourself already in possession of your desire. Walk in that scene, feel its reality, hear the voices, see the colors, breathe the atmosphere. Do not make it distant or vague. Make it vivid and alive, as though you were truly there. The key is persistence. One vivid image, entertained with conviction, is more powerful than 1,000 fleeting wishes. If you return again and again to the scene of your fulfilled desire, your subconscious accepts it as reality, and the unseen begins to arrange circumstances to match. This is not chance, nor is it coincidence. It is law. Imagination, when persistently applied, becomes the script of tomorrow's events. Think of your imagination as the truest prayer. You may never speak a word aloud, but if inwardly you are picturing abundance, you are conversing with abundance. If inwardly you are picturing love, you are conversing with love. And the universe, being faithful, replies in kind. Every vivid inner image is a dialogue with the unseen. You are never merely daydreaming. You are planting, you are shaping, you are conversing with the source of all things. So choose wisely what images you dwell upon, for they are not idle. They are the blueprint of your destiny. Silence is not emptiness, it is power. In the stillness of your mind lies the purest form of communication with the universe. Most people believe they must speak more, affirm louder, or constantly repeat their desires to be heard. But the truth is, the universe responds not to noise, but to clarity. When you withdraw from the endless chatter of fear, doubt, and contradiction, your intent shines like a steady flame. In that silence, your word carries weight, and creation begins to take shape. The inner world is often crowded with conflicting voices. One moment you declare abundance, the next you fear lack. One day you affirm health, the next you dwell on symptoms. This back and forth creates confusion, not because the universe does not want to answer, but because the signal you send is scattered and unclear. Imagine trying to tune into a radio station filled with static. The message is drowned out. In the same way, doubt and mental noise blur your communication with the unseen. Silence, however, cuts through the interference and delivers a clear, unwavering command. Silence is not merely the absence of outer words, it is the quieting of inner resistance. It is choosing to rest in the certainty that your desire is already fulfilled. In silence, you no longer argue with yourself. You no longer question the process. You simply know. This knowing, this calm assurance, is a power greater than all frantic effort. It is in silence that the seed of your desire germinates undisturbed, free to grow into visible form. Think of the farmer who plants a seed. He does not dig it up each day to check if it is growing. He leaves it in silence, trusting the hidden process of life. In the same way, when you have spoken inwardly from the end and felt your desire real, you must rest in silence, allowing the unseen forces to work on your behalf. To constantly worry, to constantly question, is to uproot the seed before it has a chance to bear fruit. As the tree descends, so do they. Worms bear and become fruit. Silence is the soil in which your intention takes root. There is also great strength in withdrawing from the noise of the world around you, the opinions of others, the endless flow of negative news, the constant distractions of daily life. These can all cloud your inner vision. But when you step back, when you turn inward and close the door of your senses, you discover a sanctuary where your intention stands unchallenged. In that sacred stillness, the universe hears you clearly. Silence is not weakness, it is alignment. It is the place where your desire and your faith meet without contradiction. When you speak in silence, not with lips, but with conviction, you need not repeat yourself endlessly. Once is enough when it is clothed in belief. The quiet assurance of fulfillment speaks louder than 1,000 noisy affirmations. So practice the power of silence. Still your mind, withdraw from the noise of doubt, and rest in the certainty of your fulfilled desire. In that calm, the universe listens with perfect clarity, and your intent becomes irresistible. For silence is not emptiness, it is the womb of creation, where invisible seeds are nurtured into visible realities. To speak from the end is to stand within the reality of your fulfilled desire and let your words flow from that state. Most people speak to the universe as beggars, pleading for what they lack, hoping that their requests will someday be granted. But begging is the language of separation. It acknowledges that the thing desired is far away, and so it remains far away. The true secret is to declare from the end, to speak as though the desire is already yours, to think, feel, and live in the assurance that it is done. When you speak from the end, you are no longer trying to convince the universe to give you something. You are affirming the truth of its presence here and now. Instead of saying, I want success, you say, I am successful. Instead of saying, I hope for love, you say, I am loved. These are not idle statements or wishful fantasies. They are the language of creation, the declaration of what already exists. In the unseen, the universe mirrors what you claim with conviction, not what you long for in doubt. This principle is simple, yet it requires courage. For to speak from the end means you must dare to ignore appearances. You must speak health while the body feels weak. You must declare abundance while the bank account looks empty. You must affirm love while loneliness surrounds you. The world may laugh and call it delusion, but in truth it is the only way to shift reality. What you claim inwardly with persistence must eventually take form outwardly, for the outer world bends to the inner state. Ending. Speaking from the end is not pretending, it is assuming. Pretending implies you know it isn't real, while assuming means you accept it as fact, regardless of outer evidence. To assume the end is to plant yourself in the reality of fulfillment and refuse to be moved. You are no longer waiting for something to come, you are living as though it has already arrived. And when you do this faithfully, life rearranges itself to match your inner declaration. Think of an actor on stage. He does not hope to become the character, he assumes it fully, walking, speaking, and thinking from that role until it feels real. In the same way, you must assume the role of the person you desire to be. Speak as that person, think as that person, feel as that person. Do this not once, but until it becomes your natural identity. Then, what was once imagination will solidify into fact, and you will realize you were never waiting, you were always being. To beg is to delay. To declare from the end is to command. The universe does not respond to please, it responds to conviction. Speak from the end and you will discover that the very words you utter in faith carry the power of creation. You are not asking, you are decreeing. You are not wishing, you are establishing. And once the end is spoken with unwavering certainty, the path from here to there unfolds naturally. And what you declare within becomes a life you live without. The harvest is certain. Once you have spoken in the correct inner language through assumption, feeling, and imagination, the seed is planted, and its fruit must appear. This is not wishful thinking, nor is it blind optimism. It is law. Just as a seed planted in fertile soil must one day break through the ground, so too must every inner word spoken with conviction take shape in your outer world. The unseen always gives birth to the seen, and nothing can stop the process once it has been set in motion. When you declare your desire from the end and feel it as real, you are sowing into the rich soil of consciousness. The moment you assume its truth, the seed is placed in the womb of creation. From that instant, its growth begins. You may not see it immediately, just as a farmer does not see the seed sprout the moment he plants it. But beneath the surface, an invisible work is unfolding. The roots are forming, the pattern is taking shape, and in due time the harvest must show itself. This is where many falter. They expect instant results, and when the outer world does not immediately reflect their desire, they become impatient. In their impatience, they begin to doubt, and in their doubt, they dig up the seed with negative inner speech. But no harvest can appear when the seed is constantly disturbed. The wise understand that once planted, the seed requires trust and persistence. You need not watch the soil anxiously every moment. You need only continue to water it with faith and dwell in the assurance that its fruit is inevitable. The harvest is also according to the seed. If you plant thoughts of lack, the harvest will be lack. If you plant thoughts of abundance, the harvest will be abundance. The universe is impartial. It simply reflects what has been sown. You cannot expect joy if you continually sow sorrow, nor can you expect freedom if you continually sow fear. The law is exact. Every seed reproduces after its own kind. Your inner speech is the seed, your feeling is the soil, and your persistence is the water. With these combined, the outcome is guaranteed. Think of the countless cycles of nature. No farmer plants wheat and expects thorns. No gardener sows roses and expects weeds. In the same way, your inner declarations will never betray you. They must bring forth fruit of the same nature as the seed you planted. The outer world is not mocking you when delays occur. It is simply honoring the process of growth. Some seeds take longer to sprout. Some fruits take longer to ripen. But in all cases, the harvest is certain. Therefore, once you have assumed the state of your desire and spoken from the end, release it into silence. Do not beg again. Do not question again. Do not doubt again. Trust the law of life. The harvest is certain because the seed was already accepted. In the fullness of time, what was invisible will stand before you visible, undeniable, and complete. And when it comes, you will know that it was never chance, never luck. It was the faithful outworking of the seed you planted within. In the end, everything returns to the simple but profound truth. The way you speak to the universe shapes the way the universe speaks back to you. Assumption, feeling, imagination, silence, speaking from the end, and trusting the certainty of harvest. These are not just abstract principles, they are the very laws by which your life is governed. You are never at the mercy of chance or circumstance. You are always in conversation with the infinite. Each inner world, each vivid image, each feeling you entertain is a seed, and every seed carries within it the certainty of its own fulfillment. So choose carefully the language you speak within. Choose to assume the highest, to feel deeply, to imagine vividly, to rest in silence, to declare from the end, and to trust in the law of harvest. Do this faithfully, and you will discover that what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. The universe is not withholding from you. It is waiting for you to speak correctly, to align with its language. And when you do, you will see that what you call magic is simply the natural response of a law that never fails. Thank you. Your dreams are not scattered fragments of chance. They are not wandering through uncertainty, hoping to find their way. They are already gathered, already aligned, already moving with precision toward expression. There is an intelligence at work that does not rush and does not fail. What you desire is unfolding in divine order, and your only task is to come into harmony with what is already prepared. Nothing appears in your world by accident. Every experience is the echo of a deeper inner state. Long before you see movement on the surface, the arrangement has already taken place within consciousness. What you call waiting is not delay, it is preparation. The unseen is adjusting, assembling, and aligning circumstances to match the state you are accepting as true within yourself. When you attempt to force outcomes, you step out of alignment. When you relax into trust, you step back into the current that carries everything forward effortlessly. Divine order does not respond to anxiety or strain, it responds to assumption. Whatever you consistently feel to be true begins to organize life around it. When you feel certain that your dream is inevitable, the path opens without struggle. You were never meant to figure out the how. The mind that tries to control the sequence only interferes with the natural intelligence already at work. Your role is not to manage events, but to occupy the state of fulfillment. When you live as though the desire is already resolved, life rearranges itself to confirm that assumption. Look back and you will see this law has always been operating. Events you once worried about found their resolution without your effort. Opportunities appeared at moments that could not have been planned. People entered your life at the precise time they were needed. This was not coincidence. The same principle governs your current desires. What you want is not coming together randomly, it is assembling perfectly. Every delay, every pause, every seeming detour is part of a greater coordination you may not yet perceive. What appears as stillness is often movement beneath the surface. When doubt arises, it is not a sign that your dream is failing, it is merely an invitation to return to inner alignment. The moment you shift from questioning to knowing, from effort to allowance, the flow resumes. The law does not punish uncertainty, it simply waits for clarity. And clarity comes the instant you decide what you are willing to accept as real. Live from the end. Speak inwardly as one whose desire is complete. Think from fulfillment, not toward it. Let your inner conversations reflect gratitude rather than anticipation. Gratitude implies receipt. Expectation implies absence. What you feel now determines what you experience next. Nine order does not operate on your timetable, but it always operates with precision. Nothing arrives late and nothing arrives early. Each piece fits only when all pieces are ready. Trust this intelligence more than your impatience. Trust the process more than appearances. Trust the unseen more than what your senses report. As you remain faithful to the feeling of accomplishment, you will notice subtle shifts. Ideas will arise naturally. Opportunities will present themselves without effort. People will say the right things at the right moments. Doors will open that you did not knock on. These are not miracles. They are confirmations. Your dream is not struggling to become real. It is waiting for you to stop seeing it as future and begin claiming it as present. The moment you accept it inwardly, the outer world has no choice but to comply. Everything is already moving into place. The order is perfect. The timing is exact. The fulfillment is certain. Remain still within. Assume boldly and let life do what it always does. When consciousness is aligned, it brings your dreams together in divine order. Consciousness is the silent origin of everything you experience. Before any event appears in the physical world, it first exists as a state of awareness. Nothing enters your life by chance or external power alone. Every outcome flows naturally from the inner position you consistently occupy. What you are conscious of being, expecting, and accepting as true determines the form your world takes. Life does not respond to effort, struggle, or desire in itself. It responds to consciousness. The outer world is not an independent force acting upon you. It is a mirror, faithfully reflecting the assumptions you hold about yourself and reality. When you believe circumstances control you, life arranges itself to confirm that belief. When you recognize that your inner state is the cause, Circumstances reorganize to match your awareness. Consciousness does not argue or negotiate, it simply expresses what it is aware of as real. Every thought you entertain carries feeling, and feeling impresses consciousness. It is not what you want that manifests, but what you feel to be true now. A desire felt as distant remains distant. A desire felt as fulfilled begins to shape events immediately. The moment you accept something inwardly, the process of its externalization is set in motion. This is why effort often delays results. Effort implies lack, while assumption implies possession. Your attention is creative. Whatever you consistently give your awareness to becomes energized. When attention is focused on problems, obstacles multiply. When attention rests in certainty and calm knowing, solutions arise effortlessly. Consciousness cannot distinguish between what is imagined and what is physically present. It responds equally to both. What you rehearse inwardly becomes your lived experience outwardly. This is not a matter of positive thinking or forcing optimism. It is about identity. Outcomes flow from who you believe yourself to be. If you identify as one who waits, struggles, or hopes, life reflects waiting, struggle, and hoping. If you identify as one who expects, receives, and trusts, life mirrors ease, alignment, and fulfillment. The world rearranges itself automatically to remain consistent with your self-concept. Time plays no creative role. What appears to take time is simply the interval between a shift in consciousness and its visible expression. The moment consciousness changes, the outcome is already determined. The delay is not evidence of failure, but of adjustment. Events must move, people must align, and conditions must organize themselves to reflect the new state you have accepted. When you stop trying to change the world directly and instead change your inner stance, transformation becomes effortless. You do not need to convince anyone, manipulate circumstances, or struggle against appearances. Your responsibility is singular. Choose the state of consciousness you will live from. Once chosen and sustained, it carries its own power. This understanding restores authority to where it belongs. You are not at the mercy of fate, chance, or external forces. You are participating in a law that is always active, always precise, and always impartial. Consciousness gives form to experience as naturally as a seed produces its harvest. As you become aware of this, life softens, anxiety fades, because you no longer depend on conditions. Confidence grows because you know the source. When consciousness is recognized as the origin, trust replaces effort, knowing replaces doubt, and outcomes flow with ease. What you are aware of being, you inevitably become, and what you become shapes everything you experience. The unseen is not empty, uncertain, or inactive. It is complete, ordered, and purposeful long before anything becomes visible. What you eventually experience in the outer world is only the final stage of a process that has already been fulfilled within a deeper realm. Before anything appears as form, it exists as arrangement. Before movement is seen, alignment has already taken place. What you are waiting for has already been prepared. The mistake is believing that nothing is happening simply because nothing can yet be observed. The unseen does not announce its work. It moves silently, assembling people, timing, conditions, and events into precise coordination. When you shift into the state of knowing rather than questioning, you step into harmony with this invisible order. Your confidence does not create the arrangement. It allows you to witness it without interference. Everything begins inwardly. Once a state is accepted as true within, the unseen immediately responds. It organizes pathways that logic could never design and opens doors you could not force. The visible world can only reveal what the unseen has already established. This is why sudden breakthroughs seem miraculous. They are simply the moment when preparation meets perception. Impatience arises when you judge progress by appearances. But appearances are always behind reality. They are reflections, not causes. When you learn to rest in the certainty of completion, you free yourself from the need to monitor or control the process. The unseen thrives in trust. Doubt does not stop it, but doubt delays your recognition of its movement. The solution lies within you. The one thing we cannot build is our new. Every desire carries with it its own fulfillment. The moment it arises, the means of expression is already implicit. Nothing is missing. What feels incomplete is only your awareness of the arrangement. When you understand this, anxiety dissolves. You no longer ask when or how. You know that what belongs to you is already positioned to meet you at the exact moment it can be received. The unseen works with precision, not haste. It accounts for growth, readiness, and alignment. What seems like waiting is often protection. You are being prepared to sustain what is coming, just as circumstances are being prepared to deliver it. When both are ready, appearance is effortless and natural. This is why forcing outcomes never produces lasting satisfaction. What arrives prematurely lacks harmony. What arrives through alignment feels inevitable. The unseen never makes mistakes. It does not rush and it does not delay. It unfolds according to order, not emotion. Faith is not blind belief. It is understanding. It is knowing that reality begins where sight ends. When you trust the unseen, you stop sending contradictory signals through fear and doubt. You remain steady, and steadiness allows the arrangement to continue uninterrupted. There is great freedom in this awareness. You no longer live in reaction to circumstances. You live from inner certainty. You move through your days with calm expectation, knowing that everything is converging in your favor. You do not chase results, you allow them to arrive. What you will soon call sudden has been quietly prepared for longer than you realize. Every conversation, every delay, every shift has been part of the unseen design. When it appears, it will feel natural, not surprising, like something that was always meant to happen. Trust the unseen. It is not distant from you, it is responding to you. And as you remain aligned with the feeling of completion, what is already arranged will reveal itself at the perfect moment. Nothing moves in your outer world until something settles within you first. Action, opportunity, and change do not originate from circumstances, they flow from alignment inside consciousness. Before life rearranges itself, you must first be at peace with the state you wish to experience. Inner alignment is the cause, outer movement is the effect. When the inner state is unstable, the outer world reflects confusion. When the inner state is steady, the outer world responds with order. Inner alignment means harmony between what you desire and what you assume to be true. Many people want change, yet continue to think, feel, and speak from the condition they wish to leave. This inner contradiction creates delay. Life cannot move in two directions at once. When your inner conversations match the reality you want to experience, movement begins naturally, without force. Alignment is not emotional excitement. It is quiet certainty. It is the feeling of being settled as though the matter is resolved. When you no longer need reassurance, proof, or signs, you have entered alignment. At that point, circumstances begin to shift on their own. People behave differently, opportunities appear unexpectedly, solutions arise without struggle. These are not random events, they are the natural consequence of inner harmony. The world always follows your dominant inner state. If you carry doubt, the world echoes doubt. If you carry expectation, the world reflects expectation. You cannot outwork misalignment. Action taken from anxiety only multiplies resistance. Action taken from alignment feels inspired, effortless, and timely. Often, alignment removes the need for action entirely, allowing things to come to you instead. Inner alignment requires release. You must let go of the habit of monitoring progress, comparing timelines, and measuring success by appearances. These behaviors pull you out of alignment because they reinforce the assumption that something is missing. The moment you accept that nothing is missing, the outer world begins to supply what matches that acceptance. This principle explains why effort often fails and surrender succeeds. Surrender is not giving up. It is aligning with certainty. It is choosing to trust the state you have claimed rather than the evidence you see. When you stop resisting the present moment, you allow movement to occur. Resistance freezes. Acceptance flows. Every transformation you admire began invisibly. Before a door opened, the person became someone who expected open doors. Before support arrived, the individual accepted being supported. The inner shift always came first. The outer world simply followed instructions. Alignment also brings clarity. When you are aligned, you are no longer confused about what to do next. Decisions feel simple. You are drawn to the right place at the right time. You meet the right people without effort. This is not chance. It is coherence between inner state and external events. When alignment is achieved, patience replaces urgency. You understand that movement is inevitable, so there is no need to rush. You trust the process because you trust the source. The outer world cannot help but comply once the inner command is clear. If nothing seems to be changing, look inward rather than outward. Ask not what you need to do, but what you need to accept. Shift the feeling of waiting into the feeling of knowing. Shift the inner dialogue from hoping to expecting. This is alignment. Once alignment is established, movement follows, as surely as night follows day. You do not push life forward, you allow it to respond. Inner alignment always precedes outer movement, and when the inner is settled, the outer rearranges itself with precision and ease. Trust is not passive hope or blind optimism. It is an inner decision to rest in certainty. The moment trust is established, delay begins to dissolve. Resistance weakens because resistance is born from fear, and fear cannot survive where trust is present. When you trust, you stop interfering with the natural flow that is already carrying your desire toward fulfillment. Delay is not a punishment or a test. It is often the result of inner contradiction, wanting something while simultaneously questioning its arrival. Doubt sends mixed signals. One part of you moves forward while another pulls back. Trust unifies the inner direction. When the mind and feeling move together, progress accelerates effortlessly. Resistance is the habit of trying to control outcomes. It appears as overthinking, constant checking, emotional attachment to timing, and the need for proof. These behaviors are subtle forms of mistrust. They suggest that life must be managed, watched, or pressured into action. Trust releases this tension. It says, "What is mine knows how to reach me." When trust replaces effort, the body relaxes and the mind quiets. In that stillness, alignment is restored. Life responds to this state immediately, though not always visibly at once. The unseen begins to work without obstruction. Paths that were blocked begin to open. Situations that felt heavy start to shift. What once required struggle now unfolds naturally. Trust does not mean doing nothing. It means doing less from fear and more from clarity. Inspired action arises only when resistance falls away. These actions feel light, timely, and effective because they are not driven by desperation. They are guided by inner assurance. When trust is present, even small actions produce significant results. Many delays persist because of emotional attachment to outcomes. When the result becomes your source of peace, you signal lack. Trust reverses this. It establishes peace first, independent of circumstances. From that peace, outcomes arrive as confirmation rather than rescue. Trust also transforms perception. Instead of seeing obstacles, you see redirection. Instead of interpreting silence as failure, you recognize it as preparation. This shift in interpretation alone dissolves resistance. The mind no longer fights what is happening. It cooperates with it. Life does not withhold from trust. It cannot. Trust aligns you with the intelligence that governs order and timing. Once aligned, you stop asking when and start knowing that it is inevitable. This knowing removes urgency, and urgency is one of the greatest sources of resistance. When you trust, you stop rehearsing worst-case scenarios. You stop arguing internally with circumstances. You stop trying to predict or protect. This mental release frees energy that was previously tied up in fear. That energy then becomes available for movement, creativity, and reception. Trust is strengthened through consistency, not effort. Each time you choose calm over panic, knowing over questioning, you reinforce alignment. Over time, this becomes your natural state. Delay shortens because there is nothing left to resist the flow. What you once chased begins to approach you. What felt stuck begins to move, not because you forced change, but because you stopped blocking it. Trust does not rush outcomes. It removes the barriers that slow them. There, the idea first. When trust becomes your foundation, life feels cooperative rather than confrontational. You no longer feel at war with timing or circumstances. You understand that everything is working with you, not against you. In trust, delay dissolves. In trust, resistance fades, and in the space created by that surrender, fulfillment moves forward with ease, precision, and inevitability. Living from fulfillment means adopting the inner posture of someone whose desire is already accomplished. It is not pretending, forcing belief, or denying present circumstances. It is a shift in identity. You are no longer reaching towards something missing. You are resting in the feeling of completion. From this state, manifestation accelerates naturally because there is no contradiction within you. Most delays are created by living in anticipation rather than fulfillment. Anticipation implies future, fulfillment implies now. Life responds only to what you accept in the present moment. When you continually think, feel, and speak as though your desire is on the way, you reinforce distance. When you think, feel, and speak from the certainty that it is done, you collapse that distance. Fulfillment changes your inner conversations. Instead of asking when it will happen, you move through life with quiet gratitude. Gratitude is powerful because it assumes receipt. You do not thank for what you doubt, you thank for what you possess. This inner tone sends a clear signal. Consciousness organizes experience to match it. When you live from fulfillment, urgency disappears. You are no longer scanning your environment for confirmation. You stop measuring progress by external signs. This lack of urgency removes resistance. What is not chased is allowed to arrive. What is not pressured finds its natural timing. Behavior also shifts when fulfillment is assumed. You make decisions differently. You speak with confidence rather than explanation. You act from stability rather than hope. These changes may appear subtle, but they dramatically influence how life responds to you. People sense certainty. Opportunities gravitate toward it. Circumstances rearrange around it. Living from fulfillment does not mean passivity. It means inspired movement rather than reactive effort. Actions taken from fulfillment feel natural and often effortless. You are guided rather than driven. You do not force doors. You notice which ones are already opening. The mind may protest at first, demanding proof. This is a habit, not truth. Fulfillment requires you to trust the inner experience more than external evidence. The unseen always precedes the seen. By honoring the inner completion, you invite the outer confirmation. This practice also transforms emotional patterns. Anxiety fades because there is nothing to wait for. Doubt weakens because certainty is being rehearsed daily. Peace becomes familiar, and peace is a powerful creative state. Life moves quickly when it encounters coherence. Acceleration does not mean rushing events. It means removing friction. Fulfillment removes friction because it eliminates inner conflict. You are no longer divided between desire and belief. You become whole in your assumption, and wholeness moves freely into expression. Many people delay their own manifestations by insisting on seeing first and believing later. Fulfillment reverses this order. You believe first, feel first, and then see. This is not denial of reality. It is choosing the level at which reality begins. As fulfillment becomes your dwelling place, life starts to reflect it in surprising ways. Small confirmations appear, opportunities align, conversations shift. These are echoes, not causes. They follow the inner state You have stabilized. Living from fulfillment is a discipline of awareness. Each time you return to the feeling of it is done, you strengthen the signal. Over time, this state becomes natural, and what once required effort begins to unfold with ease. When you live from fulfillment, manifestation is no longer something you wait for. It becomes something that catches up to you. The world adjusts itself to meet the inner conclusion you have already reached. And because there is no resistance, the movement is swift, precise, and inevitable. Everything in life moves according to order, not urgency. What arrives does so at the moment it can be fully received, sustained, and appreciated. The appointed moment is not random, and it is not delayed by fate or chance. It is determined by readiness, inner readiness as much as external alignment. When the time is right, arrival is effortless. When the time is not yet complete, forcing only creates strain. Impatience comes from the belief that timing is outside your favor. This belief creates tension, and tension clouds perception. You begin to see delay as denial and pause as punishment. In truth, the pause is part of the process. It allows refinement, growth, and alignment to occur unseen. The appointed moment accounts for all variables, including your ability to remain steady once fulfillment appears. Nothing that truly belongs to you can miss you. What is meant for you is held in place until you are prepared to meet it. The moment preparation is complete, arrival is natural and often sudden. What feels like waiting is often alignment in progress. The mind tends to judge timing through comparison. You measure your path against others, forgetting that no two journeys are the same. Comparison distorts understanding. The appointed moment is personal. It is calibrated to your state, your assumptions, and your capacity to receive without fear or doubt. When you trust this, frustration dissolves. Timing is not something you manage, it is something you align with. Alignment does not speed things up unnaturally, it removes resistance. Resistance is what makes timing feel slow. When you stop arguing with the present, the future unfolds with ease. There is intelligence behind every arrival. Meetings happen when both parties are ready. Opportunities appear when you can recognize and act on them. Results show up when they can be maintained, not just achieved. What arrives too early often collapses. What arrives at the appointed moment lasts. Stillness does not mean stagnation. Even when nothing appears to be changing, preparation continues. Inner shifts, unseen arrangements, and subtle movements are underway. Trusting this process allows you to remain calm and receptive rather than anxious and reactive. The appointed moment is also influenced by your inner assumption. When you feel that something is inevitable, timing shortens. When you feel uncertain, timing stretches. Not as punishment, but as adjustment. The law responds to clarity, not desire alone. Patience is not passive endurance, it is active trust. It is knowing that nothing is late. When you embody this knowing, you stop sending signals of lack. You live fully in the present rather than postponing peace for a future event. This presence aligns you with flow. Often, fulfillment feels sudden because you were not watching the clock. The moment arrives when you are no longer desperate for it. This is not coincidence. Detachment clears the path. Expectation without strain allows timing to complete itself. Everything arrives at the moment it can be received without fear, doubt, or dependency. When you understand this, you stop fighting the process. You allow life to move at its natural pace. Trust replaces urgency. The peace replaces tension. You realize that what is yours is not delayed, it is on schedule. And when it arrives, it feels right, stable, and complete, as though it could not have come at any other time. As we bring these ideas together, one truth stands clear and steady. Nothing in your life is unfolding randomly. Every desire, every pause, and every shift is part of an intelligent order responding to your inner state. Consciousness sets the direction. The unseen prepares the way. Alignment opens the path. Trust removes resistance. Fulfillment accelerates the process. And timing delivers the result with precision. When you understand this, you stop struggling with life and begin cooperating with it. You are not behind, you are not late, you are not missing anything. What belongs to you is already arranged and moving toward expression. The moment you live from certainty rather than anticipation, everything begins to flow with ease. Your role is simple yet powerful. Assume the state of fulfillment. Remain faithful to it and allow life to reflect it back to you in perfect order. When doubt arises, return to knowing. When impatience appears, return to trust. When circumstances seem still, remember that movement always begins within. What you accept inwardly must externalize, because that is the law by which life operates. Nothing can stop what is already agreed upon in consciousness. Stand firm in the awareness that your dreams are coming together now, not through force, not through strain, but through alignment. The process is working, the timing is exact, and the outcome is certain. Remain calm, remain faithful, and remain aware of who you are choosing to be. Thank you. There comes a moment in every person's journey when the air feels heavy with change, when everything familiar begins to lose its shape, and something unseen whispers, "Be still, something is coming." This is that moment. Everything in your life is about to shift. But the question is, are you ready to receive it? You see, transformation never begins on the outside. It starts in the silent corridors of your mind, in those quiet moments when you dare to see yourself differently. You are not waiting for the world to change. The world is waiting for you to change your inner stance. Reality bends itself around the picture you hold inside. If you keep seeing yourself as limited, life will echo back limitation. But the moment you dare to feel yourself as abundant, as chosen, as powerful, life rearranges to fit that vibration. This shift that's coming is not random. You've been calling it in through your thoughts, your desires, your imaginal acts. Every time you said, "I know I'm meant for more," you sent a signal into the unseen. And now that unseen world is answering. But remember this, before the new can rise, the old must crumble. You might lose things, people, habits, even comfort zones. Don't resist it. That's not destruction. That's recreation. The old self cannot enter the new reality you've asked for. So stay ready. Stay ready in your mind. Stay ready in your emotions. Stay ready in your imagination. Readiness doesn't mean waiting. It means living now as if what you desire is already here. Walk with the quiet confidence that your next level has already been released. Speak as the person who already possesses the promise. You are not preparing to become, you are remembering who you already are. And when the shift comes, and it will come, it won't come slowly, it will happen in a moment, like the turning of a page. One day you'll wake up, and everything that once felt distant will feel natural. You'll realize that nothing actually changed, only you did. Your world is the mirror, and you are the reflection. So breathe deeply, stand tall, expect the miraculous. Everything in your life is about to shift, and you are already in position to receive it. Everything that you see around you is not as solid and independent as it appears. What you call reality is nothing more than the reflection of your inner state, your thoughts, your beliefs, and the assumptions you persist in. The world does not move first, you do. Every event, every opportunity, every person that enters your life is a mirror responding to the tone of your inner being. When you understand this, you stop trying to change the outer world by force and instead turn inward where the real power lives. If you want a new life, you must first become new inside. You cannot live in abundance while thinking from lack. You cannot experience love while holding thoughts of rejection and fear. The outer world is a faithful servant. It simply delivers what you continually impress upon your subconscious mind. If you hold an image of yourself as successful, peaceful, confident, and capable, even before any evidence appears, you will soon find the world arranging itself to match that picture. The secret is this: life does not respond to your words, it responds to your feeling state. You can affirm prosperity all day long, but if deep within you feel poor or unworthy, that feeling will dominate. The law of life is always working. It listens not to what you say, but to what you believe to be true. This is why change begins only when you dare to shift your inner assumption about who you are. Most people try to fix the mirror instead of the face it reflects. They struggle with circumstances, chase validation, and wrestle with conditions, not realizing that every outer struggle is just a shadow of an inward pattern. The moment you stop fighting appearances and begin to change the self-concept within, your world softens and begins to yield. The energy that once seemed resistant suddenly moves in your favor because you are no longer resisting yourself. To shift within means to live from the end, to feel now what you wish to experience later. It's to walk in the awareness that you already are the person you desire to become. It's to close your eyes and dwell in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, knowing that this inner reality must express itself outwardly. Every great transformation begins invisibly. Like a seed buried in the soil, the new version of you must first take root in imagination before it can bloom in the physical world. When you persist in this inner knowing, when you refuse to let appearances convince you otherwise, the outer world has no choice but to catch up. It may appear as coincidence, luck, or divine timing, but in truth it is your consciousness made visible. The shift within is the only shift that matters, for the world can only reflect what you are conscious of being. Change yourself in feeling, and your life must change in form. Everything begins and ends within you. Imagination is not a daydream or a fleeting fantasy. It is the creative power of life itself. Everything that exists in the physical world once lived in someone's imagination. Every invention, every building, every piece of art, every success story began as an unseen picture in the mind of its creator. The unseen precedes the seen. What you vividly imagine, feel, and persist in believing becomes the world you eventually walk through. Your imagination is not secondary to reality. It is the blueprint from which reality is built. When you imagine something with intensity and emotion, you are planting a seed in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. The subconscious does not question whether your image is real or unreal. It simply accepts the feeling that accompanies it and begins to reproduce that pattern in your outer life. Just as a seed grows in darkness before breaking through the soil, your imaginal acts grow unseen before revealing themselves as events, people, and circumstances. The law is simple but profound. Imagine it clearly, feel it deeply, persist in it faithfully, and it must come to pass. Most people use imagination destructively without even realizing it. They rehearse fears, worries, and failures in their minds and then wonder why life seems to echo those very experiences. Every mental picture you dwell upon is a silent command to your reality. The universe does not distinguish between imagination and memory. It mirrors the emotional state you occupy. When you imagine disaster, you call it forth. When you imagine harmony, you invite it in. The power works the same way for all. Only its direction changes based on your focus. To use imagination wisely is to live deliberately. It means you stop reacting to what is and begin creating what shall be. Close your eyes and see yourself already in possession of what you desire. Feel the joy, the relief, the gratitude as if it were happening now. Let the scene be vivid and alive. The more real it feels to you within, the faster it hardens into fact without. You are not pretending, you are remembering your potential into being. The imagination is not fantasy, it is reality waiting for form. When you persist in an imaginal act long enough, life begins to rearrange itself to make it real. People will appear, opportunities will unfold, and the impossible will start to feel inevitable. This is not magic, it is law. The outer world is compelled to mirror the state you occupy within yourself. You cannot outwork a poor image, but you can effortlessly outpicture a powerful one. So guard your imagination as you would a sacred garden. Do not allow fear or doubt to plant weeds where beauty could grow. Every thought is a seed, every feeling is water, every belief is sunlight. What you choose to imagine today will determine the landscape of your tomorrow. The world you experience is simply your imagination made visible. Faith is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is the quiet conviction that what you have imagined, felt, and claimed within yourself will one day stand before you in tangible form. Faith does not rely on evidence, it creates evidence. It is not hoping, nor is it mere wishing. It is the deep inner knowing that the unseen reality is already complete and that your only task is to remain aligned with it until it takes shape. Without faith, imagination remains a dream. With faith, imagination becomes destiny. Every great manifestation requires this invisible bridge. There will always be a gap between the moment you imagine your desire and the moment it materializes. Faith is what carries you across that gap without falling into doubt or despair. It is the steady assurance that even when nothing seems to be happening, everything is happening beneath the surface. Like a seed planted in soil, the manifestation grows in silence before it breaks through into sight. The impatient mind wants proof, but the wise heart knows that faith is proof of things not yet seen. Faith begins as a choice, the decision to trust the unseen over the seen. It is easy to believe when evidence appears, but true power lies in believing before it does. When you hold fast to the end in your imagination, regardless of outer circumstances, you anchor yourself in the creative flow of life. The moment you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and refuse to waver, you activate unseen forces that begin shaping your world accordingly. Faith is not passive. It is the most dynamic state of consciousness there is. The testing ground of faith often comes in silence. There will be moments when nothing seems to change, when your mind whispers that it's all in vain. This is the moment where most give up, yet this is precisely when you must stand still and know. Faith is endurance in the unseen. It is the calm voice that says, though I see nothing, I know it is done. The world may call it foolishness, but every great transformation in history was once invisible. Faith keeps you connected to that invisible pattern until it reveals itself in time and space. To walk in faith means to live as though your desire were already yours. You speak from fulfillment, you think from completion, and you act from certainty. You stop waiting and start being. Life must respond to that inner conviction because it has no choice. Consciousness is causation. The outer world will conform to the belief you sustain. Faith does not demand signs, it produces them. It does not beg for outcomes, it embodies them. When you truly believe, your vibration changes, your energy aligns, and the universe mirrors back the very thing you have accepted within. Faith is the unseen bridge that carries every dream from the world of imagination into the world of form. Without it, nothing lasts. With it, nothing is impossible. Every transformation requires a shedding. You cannot step into a new version of yourself while clinging to the thoughts, emotions, and assumptions that shape the old one. Growth is not just about gaining something new, it is about releasing what no longer serves the life you are becoming. Old states of consciousness must die so that new ones can live. Every time you evolve, an older self must be buried. This is not loss, it is renewal. The world you experience is molded entirely by the state of consciousness you occupy. A state is simply a habitual way of thinking and feeling, a pattern of belief about who you are and what life is. When you identify with limitation, you live in the state of limitation. When you identify with abundance, you live in the state of abundance. You do not attract according to what you want, you attract according to who you are. This means every new level of life demands a new identity, a higher mental frequency. The difficulty is that the mind resists death. The old state fights to survive because it has become familiar and safe, even if it no longer brings joy. It whispers, stay where you are. It's too risky to change. Yet nothing new can be born in the comfort of old patterns. The person who constantly replays past hurts cannot experience true love. The one who clings to scarcity thinking cannot receive abundance. The one who insists on control cannot enter peace. Every miracle requires the surrender of an old mindset. To die to an old state is not to force it away, but to withdraw attention from it. What you stop feeding with your focus loses power. When you cease to identify with the person who suffered, who failed, who doubted, that version of you dissolves naturally. You don't destroy the old state by fighting it. You transcend it by choosing something higher. The moment you fully accept a new assumption, I am free, I am loved, I am successful, you have already left the old state behind. This process may feel uncomfortable, even painful at times. The ego mourns the loss of the familiar. There may be moments of uncertainty as the old dissolves and the new has yet to appear. But just as night must fall before dawn, the death of the old self always precedes the birth of the new. Do not resist the in-between. It is sacred. The emptiness you feel is simply space being made for something greater. When you finally release the old mental patterns, the doubts, the fears, the self-concepts that have kept you small, you will notice how effortlessly life begins to flow. People change, opportunities appear, circumstances rearrange. The outer world cannot hold on to an identity that no longer exists within you. Every ending is a silent announcement of a new beginning. So, let the old state die with gratitude, for it brought you this far. Now, step forward into the new self that has been waiting for you all along. Readiness is not about waiting for the perfect moment. It is about becoming the perfect vessel for what you desire. To be ready is not to anticipate something in the future, but to embody it in the present. Readiness is a state of consciousness, a calm, confident awareness that what you have asked for is already on its way, and that you are prepared to receive it. Many people think they are waiting for opportunity, but in truth, opportunity is waiting for them to align. When you are mentally aligned, you have already decided within yourself that your desire is possible and already yours. There is no inner conflict, no debate, no hesitation. You no longer wonder if it will happen, you know it must. Mental readiness is a quiet certainty that removes the noise of doubt. It is the conviction that the unseen is as real as the seen. When your mind holds this steady image, life begins to move around it like iron to a magnet. You do not chase. You attract through clarity and certainty. Emotional readiness is just as vital. The emotions you consistently feel set the tone for what you experience. To be emotionally prepared means to dwell in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, to live in joy, gratitude, and calm expectancy even before evidence appears. Many delay their blessings because they are emotionally tied to lack, fear, or impatience. They want something new but still feel the energy of the old. Readiness requires emotional consistency. You must feel now as you would feel when your desire is realized. That vibration is the signal that calls your new reality into being. And finally, true readiness means being open to receive. This openness is not passivity but surrender, a release of control and a trust in divine timing. You stop dictating how your desire should come, and instead you allow life to surprise you. Openness means knowing that you are worthy of what you desire, that you do not have to earn it through struggle or effort. The universe does not respond to need, it responds to alignment. When your heart is open, the flow of life can move freely through you. Readiness is not an act, it is a vibration. It is a deep sense of peace that says, I am ready now. This state collapses time because when you live from readiness, you are already in the energy of having. Things begin to show up almost effortlessly because you are no longer pushing them away with doubt or fear. You are in harmony with what you have called forth. To stay ready is to live as though the shift has already occurred. Speak from fulfillment. Think from completion. Walk as if life has already answered your prayer. When you do, The outer world has no choice but to mirror your inner readiness. The door opens, not because you knock harder, but because you have become the one who belongs inside. Change does not always arrive with noise or warning. Often it unfolds in silence, invisible to the eye, yet undeniable in its power. The shift you have been preparing for, imagining, and aligning with does not build slowly in the outer world. It matures quietly within you. And then, all at once, everything rearranges. What seemed impossible becomes natural. What felt distant stands right before you. And what once required effort now flows with ease. Transformation does not come as a dramatic event. It comes as a realization that the world has finally caught up to who you have become inside. The mind expects change to announce itself, for signs to appear, for gradual progress to confirm movement. But true transformation is subtle. It happens in the unseen realm of consciousness. Every time you choose faith over fear, every time you persist in a higher assumption, every time you refuse to react to appearances, you are shifting, though you may not notice it. Each quiet choice reconfigures your inner world, and when the inner world reaches a certain tipping point, reality itself must adjust to reflect it. The shift often happens when you least expect it, not because it's random, but because resistance has finally dissolved. You have stopped grasping, stopped doubting, stopped checking for results. You have settled into the knowing that what is yours is inevitable. That state of surrender, peaceful, certain, detached, opens the door for change to rush in. It feels sudden only because you did not see the invisible work that had been unfolding all along. The seed had been growing roots in darkness long before it broke the soil. When the shift arrives, it does not require effort to maintain. It feels natural, as though it had always been this way. You may even forget the struggle that came before, because the new reality feels so familiar, so right. That is the sign of a true inner transformation. What once felt like a dream becomes your normal. The miraculous becomes ordinary. Life rearranges itself around the vibration you have sustained. This is why patience is sacred. You do not force the shift. You prepare for it. You keep your mind steady, your emotions calm, and your imagination fixed on the end you desire. You walk by faith, not by sight. Even when nothing seems to be happening, you trust that everything is moving beneath the surface. The transformation is already in motion, even when the evidence is absent. Then one morning, something small changes. A phone call, a chance encounter, a sudden opportunity, and you realize the entire landscape of your life has shifted. The waiting ends, the effort ceases, and you stand in the fulfillment of what you once only imagined. This is how all true change happens, quietly, invisibly, and then all at once. So stay ready, stay faithful, and trust the unseen process. The shift you've been preparing for is closer than it appears. Everything in your life is aligning for a great transformation, one that begins not with effort, but with awareness. The moment you decide to shift within, the world has no choice but to mirror that new vibration. Every step you've taken in faith, every image you've held in imagination, every belief you've nurtured has been preparing you for this very moment. You are not waiting for life to change. Life is waiting for you to remember your power. The old self has served its purpose. The new self is ready to emerge. Stay aligned, stay open, and stay faithful, for the unseen is already forming into the seen. When the shift happens, and it will, It will feel sudden, effortless, and inevitable. The life you've been imagining is not on its way. It's already here, waiting for your recognition. Thank you.